Welcome back. We can return now to the fallout from the latest release of Jeffrey Epstein files. Sky News has combed through thousands of newly disclosed documents, emails and photos. These records reveal how Epstein's sprawling network deeply intersected with global figures in British royalty, high-stakes politics and celebrity circles. Tom Cheshire talks us through the most significant revelations.
Finally, this was it. The Epstein files in their entirety.
We are producing more than 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, 180,000 images.
The fullest picture we have of the disgraced paedophile and sex trafficker.
They have pictures up on the wall.
The dozens of victims and the scale of his high-profile network.
They've been trying to stop Andrew from being a distraction, and now this has happened.
3 images appearing to show him on all fours over a woman.
From former royals to celebrities to politicians, these files continue to cause aftershocks around the world.
None of us knew the depth and the darkness of that relationship.
The Prince of Darkness is gone.
It's potentially the biggest political scandal of this century.
We've gone through hundreds of thousands of files, emails and photographs. So let's get into it. At the heart of this is the life and the crimes of one man. But this is a story about the survivors, the royals, the politics, and the famous faces. Most importantly, the survivors, who have fought for years to bring these documents to life. These files aren't just about lurid photos or ill-advised friendships. They document in precise detail exactly what Epstein did. One document here shows a list of some of the witnesses. It looks dry and methodical until you see the ages, 17 years old for all these victims. At high school, these were school children and they were abused hundreds of times. Other victims described being raped and beaten in graphic detail. Victims' journals are also included in the files. One victim took this pre-branded title, Flights of Fancy, and altered it. So it read Flights and Yachts of Horror. Some survivors spoke to Sky News after the files were published. For some, it brought back memories of what they went through. For others, fresh anger at not being protected.
One of the young girls came to the door and said, you know, Jeffrey's ready for his massage, and argued with the girls for a little bit because I don't know how to do a massage. And they said, well, you have to, you know, he requested you. So I went with the other girl who brought me to the island. I went into the room to do this massage, and the massage turned into sexual assault.
What we're seeing with the files is that there are extreme redactions and then extreme neglect to redact. I mean, a 5-year-old could have done a better job redacting these files with color-coded crayons. It is an embarrassment that our Department of Justice put this out as their very best work. It is shocking the damage that this Department of Justice has done with the way that they have released survivors' personal information out there when they literally had one job, which was to redact survivors' names.
In a letter to judges overseeing the cases brought against Epstein and Maxwell, U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton wrote that the department had taken down nearly all materials identified by victims or their lawyers, along with a substantial number of documents identified independently by the government. For years, we have seen Epstein through the prism of his relationship with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and the disgraced former prince, along with other former royals, were a crucial part of this release too. The best-known victim of Epstein was Virginia Giuffre, who died last year, and the files appear to support her version of events.
These are the puzzling pictures of the then Prince Andrew. 3 images appearing to show him on all fours over a woman who's lying on the floor. We don't know who she is or where and when the photos were taken, and Andrew has always strongly denied any wrongdoing. But once again, we're learning how close he was to Jeffrey Epstein. Exposing emails reveal more about their relationship and how Andrew continued contact after Epstein was a convicted sex offender. inviting him into the inner sanctum of royal life. We could have dinner at Buckingham Palace and lots of privacy, Andrew writes. Epstein replies, BP, please. And here, Epstein offers Andrew dinner with a Russian woman. Andrew says, great, any other information you might know about her that might be useful to know? Like, what have you told her about me? And have you given her my email as well? From Epstein, she 26, Russian, clever, beautiful, trustworthy, and yes, she has your email. Andrew claimed he cut off all ties with Epstein at the end of 2010, but emails suggest the two men were still in touch. And far from their friendship ending, Andrew and Sarah Ferguson were being helped financially by Epstein.
And the files necessitated a response from Andrew's wider family.
They've been trying to stop Andrew from being a distraction, and now this has happened.
I think it's all really important always to remember the victims and who are the victims in all this.
Andrew's younger brother, Edward, the first to be forced to respond on an official trip after those Epstein files were released, the first member of the royal family to talk about it. In some ways, really sticking to the official line, because you might remember in a statement back in October, when Andrew was stripped of his titles and his home, we heard that the King and Queen's thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Now, while Andrew and Sarah Ferguson have continuously denied any wrongdoing, with Sarah also suggesting she was being blackmailed by Epstein, this latest release of files have again given us a bigger picture of the relationship between the Yorks and Epstein, and the fact it continued well after his conviction of those paedophile charges. One of the latest emails also shows that Sarah took her daughters Beatrice and Eugenie to Miami to see Epstein 5 days after he was released from jail. The first email comes from Leslie Groff, who is the assistant to Epstein, saying to him, regarding the flights for the Duchess and the girls from Heathrow to Miami and from New York to Heathrow, we were able to get the girls on economy round trip and the Duchess on business round trip. Do I have your permission to purchase these tickets? There's then an email from his assistant to Fergie's assistant, Amanda Lewis, which says, Amanda, can you please let me know where the Duchess will be staying while in Miami? Amanda then replies to Leslie, saying they'll be with Jeffrey at 1 o'clock for lunch. I hope this is okay. And then the final email is actually from Sarah Ferguson to Jeffrey Epstein, in which she says, it'll be myself, Beatrice and Eugenie. Are we having...
Relax, I'm cooking and I've run you a bath.
Grazie. The beef's so chunky and the texture delicious. Where did you find the recipe?
Well, that would be telling.
La Famiglia Rana, Italy's favorite fresh lasagna.
We're willing to offer $185.
We can do $205.
Deal.
Twice before Keir Starmer brought him back last year as our man in the US. A stunning political appointment to get Britain in with the Trump administration. But the political honeymoon didn't last long. In September, a birthday book from 2003 was released, where he described Epstein as his best pal. The Prime Minister sacked him after Number 10 said he lied about his contact with the convicted sex offender. But the scale of the relationship didn't become fully clear until the US Department of Justice released 3 million new Epstein files. Not only are there pictures of him in his underwear in Epstein's flat in Paris, and documents showing payments from Epstein to Mandelson's husband, there's no suggestion of any wrongdoing from him, but the bombshell emails appearing to show he was leaking repeatedly to Epstein with a final straw. The calls then began for him to be stripped of his peerage from across the political spectrum. Finally, with the writing on the wall, he has gone.
I decided to inform the House that the Clerk of the Parliament has today received notification from Lord Mandelson of his intention to retire from the House effective from 4th February.
I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
What on earth just happened? Well, what you saw there is a government in full-blown retreat. It might not have looked like it, but make no mistake, this was a humiliating defeat, because not only do the government have to disclose all of the Mandelson files, but they don't get to decide which bits of it to hold back in the name of national security. They have to hand that decision over to the Parliament Intelligence and Security Committee. And who forced them to do that? Their own MPs.
There are well-worn filters through Parliament, through the Select Committee corridor, and there are various committees that could have locus in this space, to properly and sensitively handle information. I think there is consensus, Mr. Speaker, that everybody wants as much information as possible in the public domain so that we can get to the bottom of what has happened.
Now, that intervention, and all of it, I should say, was kicked off by none other than Angela Rayner earlier in the debate, only came about because Labour MPs don't trust their own government. They want independent oversight of the Mandelson files. And if that wasn't a low point, it gets even worse for Keir Starmer, because the Met Police has now said that they don't want the government to release any evidence that might prejudice their investigation, the very evidence that Keir Starmer wants to release to prove to his MPs that he really was deeply misled by Mandelson. So that's another problem for Keir Starmer. The PM is in a serious bind because he needs to prove to his MPs that he was seriously misled. And I can tell you that his MPs are febrile, some of them feeling very, very compromised and wondering what they should do next. So this is a huge scandal. It's potentially the biggest political scandal of this century. How on earth did we get here?
Mandelson betrayed our country, our Parliament, and my party.
Over the weekend, it emerged that Peter Mandelson, when he was in government in 2009, leaked market-sensitive, top-secret government information to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And to give you a sense of how serious this is, Mandelson is now under criminal investigation for this, for misconduct in public office and leaking confidential government information. And if he's prosecuted and convicted, well, he could face jail time. So that is pretty enormous, and I don't need to tell you how bad it looks. But that isn't where it ends, because the scandal has come right to the door of the current Prime Minister. And that's because last year, Keir Starmer personally brought Peter Mandelson back into government as the ambassador in Washington for the UK. It was a massive job, and I don't need to tell you that the Prime Minister has now massively ruined the day he took that decision.
I regret appointing him. If I knew then what I know now, he would never have been anywhere near government.
Peter Mandelson has said, "I was wrong to believe Epstein following his conviction and to continue my association with him afterwards. I apologise unequivocally for doing so to the women and girls who suffered." Epstein cultivated an extraordinary social network. Again, being included in these files isn't evidence of wrongdoing, but they show just how extensive and just how highly placed his acquaintances were. One of those names is the world's richest man, Elon Musk. He's always denied any close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but they exchanged numerous emails trying to arrange a visit for Musk to Epstein's island in the Caribbean. In one of them, Musk goes on to write this: "What day, night will be the wildest party on your..."
Lors Mobile. Play now.
The photo of him is taken. From there, we don't have the context around it. And again, merely appearing in the files isn't a suggestion of wrongdoing. Now, in one email sent by Jeffrey Epstein to himself, a draft email that was never sent on to anyone else, he accuses Bill Gates of catching a sexually transmitted infection and then secretly trying to provide antibiotics to his wife at the time, Melinda Gates. Bill Gates has rejected that allegation, saying it is false, and says he regrets ever meeting Jeffrey Epstein. Now, in another email sent by Epstein to himself, he says that he was helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls. Again, he's denied those allegations, but his wife, Melinda Gates, his ex-wife, has said that he has to answer some questions.
For me, it's personally hard whenever those details come up, right? Because brings back memories of some very, very painful times in my marriage, but I have moved on from that. I purposely pushed it away and I moved on. I'm in a really unexpected, beautiful place in my life. So whatever questions remain there of what I can't even begin to know all of it, those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me.
The co-founder of Microsoft has not been accused by any of Epstein's victims, and he called the allegations absurd and completely false. He also spoke on Australia's Channel 9.
I met Jeffrey in 2011, so over a period of 3 years, I had a number of dinners with him. The focus was always, he knew a lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them to give money to global health. You know, it's factually true that I was only at dinners, you know, I never went to the island, I never met any women, and so, you know, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
The Clintons have capitulated. That's how they're framing it here on Capitol Hill. For months, Bill and Hillary Clinton had refused to testify before the congressional committee investigating Jeffrey Epstein. They said subpoenas issued by the Republican chair of that committee, James Comer, were invalid and not legally enforceable. The former president and former Secretary of State accused him of targeting them for opposing Donald Trump and vowed to fight this. But things changed when some Democrats on the panel joined Republicans in a vote recommending that they be charged with criminal contempt. If the Justice Department chose to prosecute them, they faced up to a year in jail and fines of up to $100,000. President Clinton had offered to sit for a 4-hour transcribed interview. Mrs. Clinton had offered to make a sworn declaration instead of testifying. But the chairman of the committee described that as a desire for special treatment and an affront to the American people's desire for transparency. Bill Clinton will be the first former president to appear before Congress since Gerald Ford did so way back in 1983. When President Trump was subpoenaed by the committee investigating the January 6th raid on the Capitol, he sued the panel and they backed down. Bill Clinton was acquainted with Jeffrey Epstein, but has said he never visited his private island and ended contact with him 2 decades ago. Hillary Clinton says she never met or spoke to Jeffrey Epstein.
Now, in his 2024 memoir called Citizen, My Life After the White House, Bill Clinton wrote, "The bottom line is, even though it allowed me to visit the work of my foundation, travelling on Epstein's plane was not worth the years of questioning afterward. I wish I had never met him." Epstein led a billionaire's life, and he led it brazenly. Prosecutors did repeatedly try to uncover the full truth of Epstein's crimes. The newest files contain a deposition of Epstein from 2010, part of a civil lawsuit. He invoked US constitutional amendments to refuse to answer questions.
How did you meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I intend to respond to all relevant questions to this lawsuit. However, at the present time, my attorneys have counseled me that I cannot provide answers to any questions relevant to this lawsuit and must accept this advice or risk losing my right to effective representation. Accordingly, therefore, I assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment right to the U.S. Constitution.
But his crimes, which went for so long unpunished, eventually led him somewhere very different: detention, prison, and death. That has proved little comfort for some victims who were denied a public trial. They have fought for the files to be released, and even now they do not think the promise of transparency is being fulfilled. But there is much more still to come from this database, and we continue to investigate.
An update in the last few moments from the Met Police, who have confirmed that the searches regarding misconduct in public office concerning Peter Mandelson have now concluded. They were at his 2 homes in the Wiltshire area, another in the Camden area. They go on to say that he has not been arrested and inquiries are ongoing. This will be a complex investigation. It's going to take some time to do the work comprehensively, and the Met Police will not be providing a running commentary. You're watching Sky News Today. Coming up, over 80 flood warnings are issued in the UK. We'll have more on what's going on after the break.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
All alcohol products, not just wine, will have labels warning of liver disease and the link to fatal cancers.
Is it crazy? It's an industry worth around €14 billion a year. That's why Italy sees this Irish plan as such a threat. It's always instructive and occasionally entertaining to hear what Donald Trump has to say on the issue of Brexit.
She's got her own way of doing it, that's okay.
The job takes me to every corner of this island.
The rioting stemmed from a horrific daytime stabbing attack at a primary school in the city centre.
The scale of the rioting and the destruction it caused is pretty much unprecedented here in Dublin. Jerry, any comment on the judge's decisions? Do you feel vindicated, Jerry? This is the end, the somewhat chaotic end, of a 52-day trial.
Micheál Martin could be set to head back to government with the Taoiseach Simon Harris.
Are you confident that you can now return as Taoiseach?
I'm cautiously optimistic and excited.
A mystery press conference hastily called. Leo Varadkar strode out and didn't disappoint.
I am resigning as President and Leader of Fine Gael effective today.
The people here sometimes feel they're somewhat neglected by the Irish government, to the extent that this place is sometimes known as the Forgotten County.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks, but none have ever been found.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland. Sky News, get the full story first.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force.
It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, this is the Tech Report, and these are the technology stories you need to know this week. A former moderator at TikTok has waived her anonymity for the first time to tell Sky News about alleged union busting and poor conditions at the company. She says TikTok's attitude to moderator safety puts users at risk.
It affected me and my sleep pattern changed. I was finding it really hard to sleep at night time. Having flashbacks, feeling tired, losing my motivation as well for my work.
TikTok told us they strongly reject these baseless and inaccurate claims and have made ongoing enhancements to their safety technologies and content moderation. A new AI-only social network has sparked some bizarre behaviour. It's called Maltbook, and since launching last week, the AIs on it have invented a religion, talked about creating their own language, and even taken swipes at their human owners. It's raised fresh concerns about how AI agents might coordinate as they grow more advanced. SpaceX is taking over Elon Musk's AI firm, xAI, bringing rockets, satellites and artificial intelligence under one roof. Musk says it will help power big AI data centers in space using constant solar energy. The new group's valued at around $1.25 trillion, just as SpaceX eyes a possible IPO. And NASA's Artemis moon mission has hit another setback after
Continues, and I'm afraid there is no let-up in sight. Meanwhile, the Environment Agency has issued 81 flood warnings currently for England. Our Sky News meteorologist Kirsty McCabe joins me now from Surrey. Morning to you, Kirsty. Rain has been falling in parts of England and Wales every day of the year so far, and we're told there's no end in sight. What's going on?
It really is quite a depressing story at the moment. So yeah, we have had some parts of the country have seen rain every day, for example, Exeter Airport. And then we've also had below average sunshine across the country as a whole. And in particular, Aberdeen struggling with nearly 2 weeks of not seeing a glimmer of sunshine. So it's been very cloudy and it's been very wet, and there is more rain to come. And it's all because we've got a blocked weather pattern. So the jet stream, which is what drives our areas of low pressure around on the ground, is to the south of us at the moment. And normally it'd go fairly west to east across the Atlantic, but it's diving down to the south before coming back up. And that means that we get a lot of areas of low pressure coming our way. It's also been absolutely awful conditions across parts of Iberia, Portugal and Spain have seen extreme amounts of rainfall here and frequent storms, and another storm affecting them this weekend. For us, though, it's just continuing with that really cloudy and depressing picture. We've got low pressure that's been stuck over the UK, low after low coming in, bands of showers and rain feeding up across us. Scandinavia, on the other hand, sitting under the high pressure, but we've been blocked under the low. And with a southeasterly wind direction, it's not really our dominant wind direction, but that's what we've had for quite some time. And that means some places in particular have been extremely wet. So eastern Scotland, for example, have seen well over their monthly rainfall already, and we're only a few, less than a week into the month. Further west, though, western Scotland actually not doing too badly. They've managed to escape something drier. So there has been a range across the country, but where it's been wet, it's been extremely wet, and there is more rain to come. So we're continuing with this unsettled theme. Although the rain's not going to be extremely heavy at any point, it's the persistent nature of it and that cumulative rainfall's building up. As you can see already, we've got flooding in places where the river levels are high, the ground is so saturated, so it doesn't take much more rain to cause further problems. And right now, it looks as though the rest of the month is staying with this rather unsettled theme. Some glimmers of brightness here and there, hopefully, but overall the story is one of further bands of showery rain moving through.
All right, you're always our resident sunshine, so that's the best we can make of it. Talking to you. Thank you, Kirsty. Now for another look, in case you didn't get enough, of the weather.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News Weather.
It's looking unsettled through next week with further showers or longer spells of rain, bringing localised flooding and further disruption. It's going to be mild but fairly cloudy into the afternoon, windy in the south and the northeast. England, Wales and Northern Ireland will see widespread showery outbreaks at first. locally heavy, and northeastern Scotland can expect more general rain, drizzle and mountain snow. Southern and northwestern Scotland and Ireland mostly will be fine. Showers will extend to much of Ireland and southern Scotland later, while England's southeastern quarter will gradually dry up with some late brightness developing. Central Scotland will turn drier, although remaining murky, while the northwest looks fine. England and Wales will see showers becoming confined to the north and the west tonight.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.
You're watching Sky News Today. Stay with us. We continue to delve into the fallout that's accompanied the latest release of the Epstein files.
Royals to celebrities to politicians. These files continue to cover.
Delicious. Where did you find the recipe?
Well, that would be telling.
La Famiglia Rana, Italy's favourite fresh lasagna. The pennies dropped. Of course! Pay a low flat fee and keep the money you make. Interactive investor. I think, therefore I.
This is Sky News Today. It is 11 o'clock. The headlines. Pressure continues to mount on Sir Keir Starmer. That's as the former Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, describes Peter Mandelson's actions when he was Business Secretary of his government as a betrayal of the country. Meanwhile, police carry out searches at two of Lord Mandelson's properties as they investigate his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Also ahead, President Trump refuses to apologise for a racist social media post depicting the Obamas as apes. The Winter Olympics opened to great fanfare in Italy. Two nations, though, were booed as their athletes entered the stadium. And over 80 flood warnings are issued in the UK as the wet weather shows no signs of stopping. Very good morning. The former Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, has described Peter Mandelson's actions as a member of his government as a betrayal of the country. It comes after US officials released the latest tranche of documents related to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, some of which appear to show that Lord Mandelson passed on market-sensitive information to Epstein when he was business secretary after the 2008 financial crisis. Well, yesterday, police began searches at 2 of Lord Mandelson's properties as they investigate claims of misconduct in public office. Lord Mandelson has denied any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein. Let's have a listen now to what the former Prime Minister had to say this morning.
It was a complete betrayal of his colleagues and of the job that he was carrying out. And of course, it was a betrayal of the country. Now, I do think there are measures we can take to prevent this happening in future, and I would like to talk about them. There's been a systems failure and we've got to rectify it, and I think it can be done. But look, this is information that was 15 years old that is now becoming available to us. And it's remarkable that our checks and balances in the system have not found out about this before now.
We can get more on this now with Molly Malone. Morning to you, Molly. How significant is that intervention from the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown, do you think?
Well, I think significant, and people will be listening to what he has to say. But there are two sort of parallel processes playing out at the moment. You've got the kind of the politics, but also the police investigation. And in terms of that investigation, we did, of course, yesterday see Metropolitan Police officers go into 2 properties connected with Peter Mandelson, one in Wiltshire, another in central London near Regent's Park. We saw also, as you can see on your screens now, officers coming out with boxes of material relating to this investigation into Peter Mandelson, looking at alleged misconduct in public office. Now, we've had an update from the Metropolitan Police in the last 20 minutes or so. Let me read you a statement from Deputy Assistant Commissioner, who said, "I can confirm that officers from the Met Central Specialist Crime Team have carried out searches at 2 addresses, one in the Wiltshire area, another in the Camden area. The searches were related to an ongoing investigation into misconduct in public office offences involving a 72-year-old man. He has not been arrested and inquiries are ongoing. This will be a complex investigation requiring a significant amount of further evidence gathering and analysis. It will take some time to do this work comprehensively, and we will not be providing a running commentary." Now, just to explain what this investigation is about, it of course comes off the back of a massive release of documents relating to the now dead convicted paedophile and financier Jeffrey Epstein last Friday. In that release, among other things, we saw some communications between Peter Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein appearing to show Peter Mandelson giving him advance notice about an EU bailout while he was in government, while he was business secretary, while he was a cabinet minister, also about government policy relating to bankers' bonuses, and also details about Gordon Brown, the then Prime Minister, stepping down. We've heard
Copilot. Read these reviews and distill them into a visual summary.
particularly difficult week for him. And just to explain why he's under pressure, well, it relates to his decision, of course, to appoint Peter Mandelson to that top diplomatic role in Washington, Britain's man in Washington, if you like. Making that decision, appointing him to that position, when there were reports circulating at the time linking Peter Mandelson to Jeffrey Epstein, and crucially information suggesting he'd continued his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein even after Epstein's conviction for child sex offences. So it's been a politically fluid week, if you like. You've got some on the left of the party, more familiar faces that would be more typically critical of Keir Starmer, people like John McDonnell publicly questioning his position as Prime Minister, publicly questioning his judgment. You've got other politicians and backbenchers not quite ready to do that yet and still sort of waiting for processes to play out. And then you've, just on the processes, you've got this separate process, which is, of course, we had that government climb down in the week, and now they've been forced, Number 10, to give over documents relating to Peter Mandelson's appointment to ambassador for the Intelligence and Security Committee to scrutinise, looking at, you know, the communications that were made there, tens of thousands of documents. It will take time, and time, of course, is difficult, you know, a protracted process when you've got politicians, the public as well, this story showing to cut through to the public, questioning Prime Minister Keir Starmer, his judgment and his position.
All right, Molly, thank you for that update. Donald Trump has refused to apologise for a racist video posted on his Truth Social account depicting Barack and Michelle Obama as apes. After initially refusing to remove the video, it was eventually taken down. But speaking on Air Force One, Mr. Trump denied making a mistake.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans are calling on you to apologise for that post. Is that something you're going to do?
No, I didn't make a mistake. I mean, I look at a lot of thousands of things. I looked at the beginning of it, it was fine. And they had that one post, and I guess it was a takeoff. By the way, a lot of people covered, if you look at where it came from, I guess it was a takeoff on The Lion King. And certainly it was a very strong post in terms of voter fraud. Nobody knew that that was at the end. If they would have looked, they would have seen it. And probably they would have had the sense to take it down. But that was a takeoff on The Lion King. And a lot of people were covered on different positions.
Well, our US correspondent Mark Stone has more.
Well, the offensive racist video was posted at midnight on Thursday. The image of the Obamas is at the end of a video that is about alleged electoral fraud. The post was one of over 70 from the president's account published that night. There are some about Epstein, some about fraud, a lot about polling, even a video meme about a dog. Now, the initial White House statement about the Obama video notably did not say that the post was a mistake. And the post wasn't removed. The statement from Caroline Levitt said, "This is from an internet meme video depicting President Trump as the king of the jungle and Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage and report on something today that actually matters to the American public." But through yesterday, the outrage grew. It certainly wasn't fake, and across the political divide as well. The Republicans' only black senator, Tim Scott, he's close to President Trump, and he posted this. He said, praying it was a fake because it's the most racist thing I've seen out of this White House. The president should remove it. That's Tim Scott. Now, Chuck Schumer, he is the most senior Democrat on Capitol Hill. He said it was racist, vile, abhorrent. This is dangerous and degrades our country. Where are Senate Republicans? He said the president must immediately delete the post and apologize to Barack and Michelle Obama, two great Americans who make Donald Trump look like a small, envious man. That's Chuck Schumer. The post, though, well, it's remained on the president's account for 12 hours. Then came a second statement from the White House, which said simply a White House staffer erroneously made the post. It has been taken down. That raises all sorts of new questions, of course. Why was a White House staffer on the president's account at midnight on a Thursday night? And why did anyone think it was in any way appropriate to publish the video like that and then leave it up for 12 hours?
Now, the Winter Olympics are officially underway in Italy after a spectacular opening ceremony that was split across 4 locations. 53 athletes are flying the flag for Team GB. They're hoping to secure record-breaking 8 medals. Well, our sports correspondent Rob Harris was at the San Siro Stadium in Milan.
The scale of these Olympics is unprecedented. So one cauldron was lit in Milan and 2...
Investing is for people like me.
We believe investing is for everyone. AJ Bell.
being staged across 5 sites. The opening ceremony pushing football out of the San Siro. Mariah Carey paid homage to the host by singing in Italian, setting the stage for the stars of the show to arrive with the athletes' parade. Team GB's flag bearer here was ice dancer Lila Fear. And with the Union flag in Cortina was bobsleigh pilot Brad Hall. While harmony was the theme of the ceremony, I heard some booing when Israel's athletes marched in. Hostility over wars and geopolitical tensions hard to escape. There were cheers when Americans entered, but heckling when Vice President J.D. Vance was shown on the big screen. A plea from organisers for respect to be shown, not heeded.
This ceremony brought home just how vast these Olympics are, spread across a 10,000-mile footprint in Italy. And across in Cortina, it's already been a successful start for Team GB.
In curling, there have been 5 wins out of 5 in mixed doubles, and the figure skating is underway too. Only 2 medals were won by GB 4 years ago. They hope to leave Italy with a record 8. Organisers want these Olympics to be a celebration of what unites rather than divides the world. Now more than ever needing courage and compassion rather than conflict to shine through sport. Rob Harris, Sky News, Milan.
Well, Rob joins us now from Milan. Hello there to you, Rob. A spectacular start to the Winter Olympics. So what more have we got in store?
Well, the full sporting programme is now underway. Quite mild and warm here in Milan, but this is just one of the hubs. There are so many sports taking place across northern Italy, and the other main centre of attention is Cortina, up in the mountains. And that's also where the curling centre is and where the mixed doubles curlers from Team GB have made it 6 wins out of 6 today, so they're well placed to make the semi-finals. What a strong start it has been for Bruce Moe and Jen Dodd. So as they try to achieve this record medal target of 8, hopefully they'll be looking at progressing well in curling. But still, the talk is of the opening ceremony in the San Siro last night, and particularly some of that booing. I was in there, you could hear the heckling when the Israeli delegation arrived. Also, when the American athletes marched in, there was jeering at the moment J.D. Vance, the US Vice President, was shown on the big screen. The IOC have been addressing that booing in their news conference this morning. Here's the head of communications.
In terms of the athletes and the teams, whatever background they're from, whatever country they're from, I don't think we like to see any booing there, and I think we want to see sportsperson, I guess I would say, like behaviour from everyone. It's important that we support our athletes, and if you want to get philosophical about it, the whole idea of the Olympic movement is, or one of the ideas is that the athletes shouldn't be punished or whatever for whatever their government's done from whatever country they're from. And I think that's really an important thing, that we see the athletes and we see the athletic performance for what it is and what it says about humanity.
Well, the ceremony avoided, it seems, the controversies we had in Paris 2024, criticism over elements of it for being religiously offensive. One of the talking points is actually about Mariah Carey and the fact she was lip-syncing Volare. She won a lot of praise here for her rendition in Italian, but some questioning why she wasn't singing live in the stadium last night. But that is the type of scrutiny you get when you're on such a big stage like an Olympic opening ceremony. But the full sporting programme is now getting underway. For many, it's about the fans travelling these large distances with a 10,000-mile footprint to cover if you're going to get to all of the venues here in Italy.
All right, very envious of your gig there, Rob. Enjoy it. Thank you for talking to us. Now, there has been a development in the search for missing 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. Nancy is the mother of the US TV host Savannah Guthrie and was reported missing almost a week ago. Our partner station, NBC News, has learned that law enforcement officials have been searching a vehicle that may be connected to the investigation. Donald Trump says that a lot has happened in the last few hours and there could be answers very soon. Our US correspondent Martha Kellner has more.
This is one of the strangest cases I've ever reported on, and it grows even more bizarre with every new twist and turn, not least an update on the search from the President of the United States, President Trump, speaking to reporters on Air Force One, talking about something definitive to come in the hours ahead from the FBI and detectives on the scene. He said, "I'm not talking about a search, I'm talking about a solution to this case." And there's been a flurry of activity around Nancy Guthrie's house in the last few hours. Police taking a car from her garage, it seems, putting it onto the back of a tow truck and taking it to an impound lot next to the sheriff's office in Tucson. I've seen the expanse of shrubland, cacti. It's a desert out there. How big that space is. They've been combing through some of that shrubland as well this evening. So it does seem like there is real movement and momentum there. Another development as well, a new ransom note which has been sent to a local station in Arizona, not from the same IP address as the previous ransom note, but it does seem, and I want to be clear on this, that the sender used the same type of secure server to hide their IP address. So the new note also contains something the senders seem to think will prove to investigators that they are the same person who authored the original ransom note. A statement as well from the Pima County Sheriff's Office. They say the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department are aware of a new message regarding Nancy Guthrie. Investigators are actively inspecting the information provided in the message for its authenticity. So this is obviously a very fast-moving story, and I expect there'll be more developments as the night goes on and into tomorrow.
You're watching Sky News Today. Coming up, Japan is going to head to the polls tomorrow. That's after its Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, called a surprise snap election. We'll be talking about that after the break. After its Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, called a surprise snap election last month. Now, this decision is a real gamble for the new PM, who had become incredibly popular amongst young voters. and she hopes to use this election to strengthen her party's power in the lower house. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Dr. John Nielsen-Wright, a professor at Cambridge University's Centre for Geopolitics. Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. She has called this snap election. It's a gamble. Why do you think she's done it?
I think she needs to bolster her position. She needs a mandate, having only been Prime Minister since October of last year. She also, I think, recognises that her own party, the Liberal Democratic Party, which has governed Japan for the best part of 70 plus years, is also very unpopular. It has about 44% approval ratings. And for Takaichi herself, her popularity, the fact that she really resonates with young people who I think appreciate the fact that she's a bit of a trend breaker. She's the first female prime minister. Her style of politics, of course, is very plain spoken. Her backstory, a former heavy metal drummer, I think this is something that people really haven't seen before in Japan. And therefore, she's very popular. And I think she recognizes that if she's going to get stuff done, she needs a clear majority in the lower house of the Japanese parliament, where the LDP has until recently been really quite weak. And therefore, in order to pass important economic policies, to strengthen the security policy of the country, she needs a decisive victory. And I think she will probably get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what the survey results are suggesting, aren't they? As you say there, her personal approval ratings are very high. She's very unusual, isn't she, in politics in general? I mean, you can see a trend of a different breed of politician emerging across the world, but in Japan in particular.
Relax, I'm cooking and I've run you a bath.
Grazie.
Which mark her out also, given that the Liberal Democratic Party has been a centrist party, but we've seen in Japan, as in other countries, the emergence of new populist forces. The last upper house election that took place last summer was surprising because it represented a breakthrough for what might have been considered fringe parties in the past. Takaichi has been very clever because she's strong on defense. She wants to revise the constitution. She's the heir to late Prime Minister Abe, who, of course, was also fairly right of center. Takaichi has been hoping, I think, that she can eclipse that threat from the right, from those more populist parties, and she seems to have delivered that. The real question going forward is how will she govern? Because she's promised tax cuts. Those are perhaps going to be very economically costly, $32 billion. Is one figure that's been quoted. The markets are concerned about that. What will that mean for Japan's already extraordinarily high levels of national debt? And going forwards, how will she also manage her foreign policy relations, a fractious relationship with China? And of course, the big question, the elephant in the room, as it were, the relations with the United States and Donald Trump.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that, because not only is she known for being very visible domestically and putting in some political performances that get people talking, but she's been very visible on the world stage as well. I think her first meeting with a foreign leader was with President Trump, and they were holding their fists up in the air. And how important is that relationship?
Hugely important. The US-Japan relationship is the thing that guarantees Japan's security, the presence of 50,000 American servicemen in Japan, the extended nuclear deterrence that the United States provides. It's a long alliance, massively important. And of course, the economic relationship between the two countries is also important. But Donald Trump, of course, is the great disruptor in chief. And that's worrying people in Japan, including in government, about the reliability of that alliance relationship. So Japan, not just under Takaichi's leadership, but under previous prime ministers, has been building new, if you like, minilateral partnerships with other countries, including with the United Kingdom. Takaichi, I think, will do more of that. We saw, of course, that very important visit last weekend by the British Prime Minister. The UK-Japan relationship is perhaps the best it's ever been, thanks to the close cooperation between the two countries. And as you see from those photographs we're seeing now, Takaichi is confident. People have been impressed, I think, rightly, by her ability to show a confident posture in working with allies, but she will need to work carefully. She will meet Donald Trump in March of this year in the United States. There's going to be a lot of attention on how she handles that relationship. And so far, the two leaders, Trump and Takichi, seem to have a good working relationship, but nothing can be taken for granted when it comes to this bilateral partnership.
Well, great talking to you. Thanks for your analysis there, Dr. Nielsen Wright.
Pleasure.
Let's take a look at the pretty dismal weather forecast.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News Weather.
Well, it's looking unsettled through next week with further showers or longer spells of rain that bring localised flooding and further disruption. It's going to be mild but fairly cloudy into the afternoon and windy in the south and the northeast. England, Wales and Northern Ireland will see widespread showery outbreaks at first, locally heavy, and northeastern Scotland can expect more general rain, drizzle and mountain snow. Southern and northwestern Scotland and Ireland, meanwhile, will be mostly fine.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.
You're watching Sky News Today. Coming up, we speak to Welsh voters ahead of the Senate elections, where Labour's 26-year reign is under threat.
Don't just earn money, take control of it. At XTB, no matter how much you start with, you work hard for your money. Now let it work for you.
Be careful. Investing involves the risk of losing money and may not be suitable for you.
Now, the Senate elections are still 3 months away, but across Wales, the gravity of them are already front of mind, with Labour's 26-year reign under threat from both Plaid Cymru and Reform. Our Wales correspondent Dan Whitehead headed out to speak to voters in Labour's former mining heartlands, Plaid's Nationalist North, and also the younger voices of Cardiff.
We're definitely not going to vote for Reform, if that's what you're asking me.
No,
because that'll be the last time I'm here then. I'll probably be gone, sent back.
A
Across Wales, passions are running high. How important is Welsh identity and the Welsh language in this election?
Well, goodness me, that is what we are. We are Welsh.
I got no trust in Labour because they're not looking after the country, as he said now. They're bringing people in that's not supposed to be here.
Look at our NHS, falling to our knees. Well, old people lying in beds, it shouldn't be like this. You can't blame the people who work for it. It's people like that.
An election that could change the course of this nation and its place in the UK. So this is the Gurnos estate in Merthyr Tydfil, and you could describe it as the epicentre of the political earthquake underway in Wales. It is traditional Labour heartland, just like the valleys around it, but it's also where Nigel Farage came to launch Reform's contract with the British people. He was suggesting that the social and economic problems faced here are an example of the failures by Labour's governance here in Wales. That speech was nearly 2 years ago now, and the people on this estate and right across the country are facing a big decision. Do you feel it's time for change?
It's time for change, isn't it? Can't be any worse. It's got to get better. People of Merthyr voted these people in, and to me, they're not doing nothing for the people of Merthyr.
No. As far as I'm concerned, Plaid Cymru, I vote and that's it. Because I got no trust in Labour. Because they're not looking after the country, as he said now. They're bringing people in that's not supposed to be here. And it's taking money from the people that's working and people that's on the benefits. They're taking money from them, giving it to them. They're giving them houses and God knows what, man. They're not giving us nothing.
There is no doubt frustration at Labour's record in Wales, but what's going on in Westminster is also filtering down.
Keir Starmer definitely impacts the way I vote in Wales. He seems to be so weak, and the U-turns. I know the cost of living's gone up, and all the promises he made he's not kept, and of course the health services under pressure, and houses, all these problems are abundant, So that's what, and Labour promised so much, but they haven't kept any of the promises, not one.
Can I ask whether you've been a Labour man?
I voted Labour in my time. I voted Conservative last time, but they seem to have not done a lot. So I feel inclined towards reform.
Labour's been in power here since devolution began, and long before that. But a fight from Plaid Cymru, Reform, the Greens and others could see that reign end. In a post-industrial land, party loyalty is up for grabs.
It's often difficult to actually think back to this, how powerful the trade union was, and with that then the politics, and people actually believed, I think, more in politics than perhaps they do today, I think we're looking for another identity, if you know what I mean, because the identity was all about coal tips, rugby clubs, headgears, coal, singing miners and all this type of thing, and it's got to change. I've noticed more of a Welshness creeping in.
This is no normal election for Wales, not just because of the political landscape. There are some big reforms coming in. The number of members inside the Senedd, that's increasing from the current 60 up to 96. The areas they look after, the constituencies, well, they're getting bigger as well. There'll be 16 larger ones compared to the current 40. Big change.
We're willing to offer $185.
We can do $205.
Deal.
Fine. They've all gone. It's virtually all tourist industry now.
There's a lot of divide around that.
That's a feeling echoed by 38-year-old chef Adam, who lives and works on the